Hello there, everybody. I am Sapna Mahadevan, your host for this evening, and a very, very warm welcome to each one of you to PSTV. Yes, so I am back again with another enthralling episode of the Fiction Story Writing Masterclass. Yes, I hope you're all having a great time here and you're getting to learn new things, new concepts, a lot of creative story writing techniques, right? So, with that hope, I'm going to go ahead with today's episode as well. And of course, as I always tell you, we need to unleash the writer in us, take that first step towards creative writing. Yes. And coming up, we have a gamut of activities all planned specially for my dear viewers. So we have essentials, some of the essential tips, plot building pointers, and of course, again, expert tips on that area as well, specially brought for all of you so that it will aid you in your creative writing process. Yes. And let me tell you, the genre that we have today is again something that is really special, right? So let me tell you what's the genre all about, right? And here we have science fiction. So, as we all might know by now, fiction is something which is which stems out of the author's imagination. It cannot happen in the real world setting, right? And when we talk about science fiction, then all of these fictional concepts that we are talking about in our story, it has a connect to science and its theories, right? So that's why science fiction is the name that is given to this particular genre here. And let me tell you, these days, science fiction is one of the most popular genres in story writing, as well as, even for readers, when they want to grab a copy, they always this is one genre that is always on the top of the list, right? So science fiction, it is again fictional stories that have imagination referring to science and its theories, right? And now in science fiction, let me tell you the specific subgenre that we are going to have for today, right? So here we are at the subgenre of the day, which is anthropological science fiction, right? So what's anthropological science fiction must be a question that occurs to all of you, right? So let me tell you again, anthropology means it is branch, you can say, which is related to the study of humans, past and present. Yes. And anthropology also draws upon knowledge from social and biological sciences, as well as humanities and physical sciences, right? And it always tries to understand the difference that there is between cultures and ethnics between the various human history that we have seen all across, right? So that's what anthropology is all about. And today we are going to see how we can be trying to craft a story around this particular concept. Yes. So I know it's going to be a little unclear for starts as of now, but as we go ahead with our episode, I'm going to give you a lot of examples which will make you understand what the genre is all about, right? So let me also tell you that we have always seen that humans, as inquisitive minds that we have got, right? We always see that stories which revolve around time zones and time travel is something that really excites us, right? It really fascinates us humans, isn't it? We have seen a lot of movies relating to this concept of time travel, teleportation, right? And now just think about this. If you could go back in time, right? You could time travel and go back to the past and get to meet dinosaurs. Now, how exciting is that going to be, right? Yes, so that's what I want to convey here, right? It is going to be an amazing experience. Of course, only if the dinosaurs are the plant eating variety, right? I mean, the herbivores, yes. There are umpteen examples that I can give you, maybe Diplodocus or Stegosaurus, right? All of the dinosaur fans here would definitely understand me, right? So the crux here is that if you could time travel to the past and get to be among dinosaurs, right? Then it's going to be an amazing experience, yes. And now think about this. If you can spark up your imagination and try and write about this. Yes, from your imagination, if you're able to make up a story, cook up a story all by yourself, then it's going to be doubly exciting, isn't it? Yes, so that's what I mean here when I say that we are going to explore the genre of anthropological science fiction. Yes, it has everything to do with time travel, and then finding out the difference in the human race, in cultures, that there is between both of those time generations. Yes, so that's what it is going to be for today. So you are going to pen down your imaginations for the world to read, right? So today we will learn how to write an anthropological science fiction, and that too a jaw-dropping one. Yes, now let me also read some of the comments that I have here. And one of the handles here, I am not sure how to pronounce that, but then this handle here says yes, and I get that. Yes in caps means excitement, right? So of course we are going to have a lot of fun, and it's going to be an amazing experience if we could time travel, right? So this genre here is going to explore all the what if questions, right? And try and build up some answers to them in a way of story writing. And of course, when you have fun writing your story, then the world is definitely going to have fun reading it. Yes, so that's my belief. And let's move ahead now to one of the icebreaker questions. Now that we know what the subgenre of the day is all about, I'm going to now move ahead to one of the first icebreaker questions that I have for the day. And the question is, what will you prefer, watching a horror movie or a comedy one? So, which is the type that excites you? Do let me know. Do you want to have a bone chilling horror movie, or do you want to have a laughter riot and see a comedy one? Yes, so that's a simple question there. And quickly you can type out your answers in the chat box. And I for one will always go for a comedy. Yes, I think that's going to be a real stress buster, and that's something that I would love to see. Yes, so comedy for me. And okay, there are other comedy comments coming up here, comments with the comedy movie option, right? So high five to all of you. We are all on the same page. Yes. So we see Prisha giving me comedy here. And then I have another handle say comedy. Great. Roshan tells me comedy. And Varun, although, gives the option of horror movie, right? Great. So thanks again for all of these answers here. And now let me move ahead to establishing the essentials. Yes. So again, we are going to talk about three definite elements that we do not want to miss out while writing an anthropological science fiction. Yes. And when I tell you details about all of these essentials, then I'm sure that you're going to even better understand the genre that we are exploring for today, right? So let us look at the first set of essentials that come up on my screen here. We have the characters, and then the time zones, and also the world or the culture that we are going to talk about, right? So yes, let's delve deeper into this and understand each one of those elements clearly. The first element that we have are the characters, and we always say that a story without a character is not possible, right? So characters again are a key element in this kind of fictional stories, and generally we see that there is one lone character who is portrayed as the protagonist. And this traveler will either travel from the past to the future, or maybe from the future to the past. Yes, so that's one kind of a travel that he's going to do, maybe from different time zones, right? And this is going to be one of the essential aspects of our story. Yes, so the story is going to revolve around a lone traveler who is going to travel from one time zone to another. Yes, now which is the time zone that you want is again something which depends on you. And let me tell you more about this. This is the second element of our essential here. And the time zone would mean that probably, if you think about this, if it is a traveler who travels from the future to the past, which is the present right now, isn't it? So then what will happen? Maybe in the future the technology is has gone skyrocketing, and there is an advanced level of technology that we can see, right? So when a person travels from that future time zone to this present time zone, then there is difference in culture that he or she is going to notice. Yes, so that's what we want to build up into our story, the spaceship culture that is recognizably connected to our future, and one outsider exploring the culture of a planet which is at the current timeline, and they are, of course, not as technologically relevant to what we see in the future. Yes, so maybe the person who is traveling from the future to the present time will feel that the technology that we have right now is maybe low tech. Yes, and that is going to fascinate him. And just like, if you imagine about this, if we think about all the even the maybe the kitchen appliances that we have right now, which were not prevalent in ancient times. Yes, that really fascinates us, isn't it? So similarly, if there is a person who from the spaceship culture comes to our present world, then there are going to be certain dissimilarities that they might notice. Yes, and that is what we are going to talk about as essentials in our story here in our anthropological science fiction. Yes, so the time gap, the generation gap, is going to be the central theme here, right? Now, moving ahead to the third element that we have, I before that I would just want to thank Gunjan Jain for the love here in my chat box, and thanks a lot for that. And now let's move ahead to the third element that we have here. The third essential that we do not want to miss out on is the world or the culture, right? So the appeal here is always the alien culture. Yes, now try and reverse the tables. Yes, now, if a person is going to travel from this current present time to the future world, right, and probably if they come across aliens, right, there's going to be a certain appeal that person is going to experience, isn't it? So now, as a creative writer, it is up to you to imagine all of these situations and then talk about this in vivid detail so that your readers also get a glimpse of it. Yes, so the writing should be so crisp and precise that the readers get a visualization of all that you want to tell them. Yes, and that is when creative writer is called successful, right? So there's one person or one stranger who finds the culture strange in ways which there are unimaginable ways in which one particular culture can feel strange to you, right? So just explore that angle and come up with your own creative imagination where you try to establish all of these facts to your readers, right? So this was the third essential here, the world and the culture, right? So now, what are the elements that we have seen already to establish the essentials for writing an anthropological science fiction? First of all, we need to talk about the time zone. We need to have a character who's going to be a lone traveler from one time zone to another. Yes, and then we are also going to talk about the appeal or the strangeness that we find in one culture to another, right? The comparison that we are going to draw. Yes, now after all of these essentials, let me go back again to another icebreaker question. And the next icebreaker that I have for all of you is a funny one. So the question is, what would you prefer, eating raw fish or stale meat? Right? So that's a silly one, and give me answers to that. What is that daring act that you can be doing? Eat a raw fish or a stale meat, right? And let me tell you, I'm a vegetarian, so I would not go for any of them. Yes, great. And I get raw fish there in the comment box. I think that's the safest option, is it? Lovely. Thanks again for that answer there. And I have smileys here. Uh, Not any is another comment that I get there. Nice choice, Prisha. Okay, so thanks a lot for all of those emojis, answers, and the smileys that you have been sending me here in the chat box. And of course, a big wave of hi to all of my viewers, right? So now After that silly icebreaker question, I'm going to again move ahead to the next segment. And the next segment that I have here is one of the Google It words, right? So the first Google It word for today is anthropological, right? And let me tell you, anthropological would mean a study which relates to mankind, right? That's the meaning of anthropological, and that's what we are doing today in our genre, right? So it has scientific concepts because it involves time travel, right? And at the same time, it is fictional because it cannot happen in the real world setting. Thereby, we have the anthropological science fiction as our genre for today. Yes. Now, that was the first Google It word that we had for today. And you can definitely go ahead, have more information about this word from Google. And do not forget to jot down this word in your Google It journal. Yes. Now, with that, let me move ahead to the next segment. Right. And the next segment that I have here is another icebreaker question. And it says, what would you prefer, or what can you do without? Have no PC or have no PSP, right? So let me tell you, for the unversed, PC is, of course, a personal computer, and PSP is a PlayStation, right? So, what can you do without is the question here. And give me answers here in the chat box. New age children watching me live here, and I want to know from you, what is it that you can do without, right? Okay, so PC is the answer that I get there. PC, PSP, PC again. So, okay, majority of the answers are a computer, and that was quite obvious, isn't it? Yes. Okay, so we cannot do without a PC, right? And yes, in these times of the pandemic, a PC is something that is one requirement that we all have, right? Great for our online classes, of course. Okay. So thanks again for all of these answers. And now I'm going to move ahead to the expert tips in establishing the essentials, right? So let me give you some tips and tricks of the trade in how you can be writing the story more efficiently, right? The first expert tip that we have here, that it is very important for your story to have different time zones, right? Because the story is all about the study of mankind, the different cultures, the ethnic backgrounds that mankind or humans come from, right? And this study is possible only if there is a difference in the time zone, right? So that's why the time zone is one of the essential elements that you cannot miss out on, right? And you need to be accurate with the cultural details, so that you can be doing by doing some kind of a research about all of these elements here, right? The timings, the dates, everything needs to be taken care of, right? So that's one expert tip. You do not want your readers to go off the track with wrong information, right? So do your research and give accurate details about the time zone that you're going to talk about. Yes. Now, with that expert tip, let me move ahead to the second one. The central character is of great importance here. Yes. And we already saw that the central character for our anthropological science fiction is going to be someone who is going to do the time traveling, right? So, what do they think about this whole concept? What's their mindset, their mentality, their thoughts? How do they adjust with the different time zone and with the environment there? How determined are they to find out all about that they want to know of, right? Their curiosity. All of these are elements that we are going to talk about in our story. Yes. So what happens here is that you need to give your readers all the glimpse of what is going on in a person's mind when he does that particular time travel, right? And the curiosity that that person has to learn new things, that it is something that has to be framed in the most naturalistic manner. Yes. So that's the second expert tip here. And with that, let me move ahead to the next Google It word for today. And the next word that we have here is curiosity, right? So, what is curiosity? That's quite simple. When I'm curious to know about things, it means that I have a strong desire to learn about new things, right? So that's the meaning of curiosity. You can definitely Google up that word, check for sentences in how this word can be used, right? And jot that word down in your Google journal. And of course, do try to use that wherever appropriate in your vocabulary, right? So, curiosity, another synonym for it would be eagerness, right? And that was the second word that we had for today's Google It segment, right? And let me tell you, this Google It segment is introduced into this episode here so that it gives you a chance to amp up your vocabulary, right? And for that, you need to keep a book as a ready reckoner where you can jot down all of these words, right? So the first word that we had for today is anthropological, and the second word is curiosity, right? Now, after this Google It segment, let me now move ahead to the next icebreaker question. And you can also type in your thoughts to me here in the chat box. Share with me what you're thinking about this episode, maybe, or is there any other genre that you would want covered? Yes, and you can also share your thoughts with me here in the chat box, and I'm all ears waiting to hear back from you, right? So let's keep it an interactive session here. Yes. So with that, let me move ahead to the next icebreaker question. And the question that we have here is, are you an introvert or an extrovert? Yes, that's the next question that we have here. Do let me know your answers. Um, extro coming up there, extrovert. Okay, bit of both. Okay, so yes, depending on who you are talking with, is it? Varun, is that what you mean to say here? Right? So if it's a new group of people, then you might be an introvert. But once you are with your own tribe, then maybe you become an extrovert. Is that right? Okay, so there is a thumbs up to that there. Thanks for that answer there. And extrovert coming up there onto my screen. Okay, great. Great to know that most of you are extroverts and you can gel easily with people, right? Great. And with that icebreaker question, I'm going to move ahead to the next fun segment, which is the movie title trivia, right? So here I'm going to show you some pictures, and you need to guess these popular movies which are based on a time zone or maybe a science fiction movie title, right? So it's a sci-fi movie. It has different time zones being mentioned in that movie, right? And let me showcase the movie picture to you, and you need to quickly give me the name of this movie, right? So the first one that we have here coming onto my screen, there it is. And yes, a popular movie and an endearing one. Yes, what is the name of this movie? Great, and I have the correct answer there. That is right, it is Avatar. And with that, let me move ahead to the next picture. There we go. Yes, so another popular movie that we have here. That is right again. It is Doctor Strange. And lovely. Kudos to you for that answer there. And now for the next picture here. There we go. It's a Disney movie. And what's the name of that movie there? We can see a spaceship here. Okay, so let me reveal that answer there. I can see some think emojis coming up here. So the answer to that movie title is Meet the Robinsons, right? Okay. Now for the next one, and this is going to be the last movie title trivia picture that we have here. So brace yourselves for this one and try and give me the correct answers. Here you go. The last one is a Bollywood movie. And what's the name of this movie here? Great. Action replay, that is correct again. So yes, thanks a lot for all of these answers, and with that we come to the end of the movie title trivia. Right now, let's move ahead and check out another icebreaker question here. The question is, have you ever watched any time zone based sci-fi movie? If you have, then do let me know in the chat box which is the movie that you have watched, and preferably if you liked it, right? And if you can recommend some of the movies to my dear viewers here. Yes, so any time zone based sci-fi movie, maybe a Hollywood one or a Bollywood one, you can definitely mention that here in the chat box. Yes, And with that, I'm going to move ahead to the next segment. The next segment is about plotting the plot. So, we are going to give you details on how you can expand the story's plot. The first segment, we saw some of the essentials, which are prerequisites, which you want to definitely keep in your story. And now we are going to see plot building pointers. That means that how is your story's plot going to move further ahead, right? Now, always remember that whenever you're writing a story, there are some essential elements that you definitely want to keep in them, like the characters, some of the events, and a moral, probably if it is a fairy tale or a fantasy story, right? And also a happy ending, maybe, right? So these are some of the elements that we definitely want to keep in our story. Yes. Now, a plot building pointers would mean that when I'm talking about the sequence of events, if I just finish the story in 3 lines, yeah, I say that there is these are the characters. I introduce the character, and then I tell you that this is the problem statement, and finally I tell you that the problem, we find a resolution, and the story is over. Yes, there is no drama to your story, isn't it? And that's why it's not going to be interesting at all. It's not going to be a compelling read. Yes. So, for a story to be a compelling read or to be an absorbing read, what do you want? You want some much needed drama, isn't it? And how will you induce this drama into your story? By talking about all of these plot building pointers, right? So, specifically for today, while writing an anthropological science fiction, you definitely want to have 3 elements here in your plot. And all of these 3 elements, let me tell you, they are: one is the time travel, and then we have the differences, and of course the third one that we have here is the realization, right? So now let me delve deeper into this and give you an understanding of what each of these elements means, right? So the first element that we have here is the time travel. Right now, this is going to be the base element on which your story is going to be framed. Right, so generally there is a traveler who future travels to the past, and that is when the story begins. Right, and based on how you want to make your story, you can also have a different time zone that you want your lone traveler to travel to. Yes, so the time travel is one of the important aspects that you're going to build into your story plot. And the second element that is going to help you in expanding your story's plot is going to be the differences that the lone traveler is going to experience. Right, so there is of course going to be a lot of differences between the different time zones. Right, and the traveler is going to notice all of these differences, and he's going to talk about it in the narrative, and that is going to in a way help you in expanding your story's plot. Right, so the prosperity, the cultural ethnicity, the difficulties, lack of technological advancement, or the pros and the cons between both of these time zones is something that is going to form a part of the narrative of your lone traveler. Right, and that is going to be one of the plot building pointers. Yes, now with that, let me also tell you what the third element is. And the third element is going to be the realization. Right, so whenever we see that the lone traveler, he or she has experienced the differences in between the time zones. Right now, there are going to be moments when they are going to appreciate the goodness and disregard the cons that they experience. Right, and there are going to be amazing sparkling experiences that they are going to gain from this time travel, and they might be surprised, they might be in awe, or they might really be mesmerized by all of these contrasting factors. Yes, so now you are, as a creative writer, are going to end the story on a positive moral, on a happy ending, and you're also going to talk about the realization that your character has all throughout the story. Right, and they are going to talk about the contrasting factors that they see between all of these time zones. Yes, so that is again one of the plot building pointers here. Right, and thanks for that like there, Prisha. I I'm glad that you are all staying tuned in here with me and understanding the finer nuances of writing and anthropological science fiction. Yes. So, this is the third pointer that we have. And let me again summarize all of the plot building pointers. We have a base, which is of time travel. And then we have a character who is going to narrate or experience all of the vast differences that they see between the different time zones, and this realization is something that they are going to narrate about in their story. Yes. Now, after these plot building pointers, let me move ahead to the next segment. And Okay, so I have a comment here, and SG Gupta. Um, okay. Yes, this is a fiction story writing masterclass, right? And you can join in here to this live every day at 6 p.m. India time, right? And I'm going to give you tips and tricks of the trade on how you can be writing a creative story all by yourself, right? And with that, where was I? So, okay, so we were at this Google It segment, which is coming up next. And the word that we have is contrasting, right? So, there are going to be contrasting factors that the lone character is going to realize, yes? So, what does the word contrasting mean, right? So, contrasting would mean something which is strikingly different, yes? And that is what they are going to see in all of these time zones that they are traveling to, right? And that's going to be their narrative, right? So this is the third word that we have here in our Google It segment, and that is contrasting, which means something which is strikingly different. Yes. Now, with that, let me move ahead to the expert tips on the plot building pointers. And the first tip that we have here is you can also always talk about why did the character do the take the traveling thing for starts, right? So if they travel to the past, then why did they do that in the first place? What was the experience like? And there's also going to be questions on the background, the generational differences, and you need to write about all of these things to satiate all the queries of the readers, right? Now, describe all this to the readers in brief, give them an understanding of why the time travel was done in the first place, and also talk about the various contrasting factors that the character experiences. Yes. Now, after this first expert tip here, let me also move ahead to the second expert tip. And this is about the setting of the plot and about describing the different scenarios. Yes. So, this story here is going to be visually appealing because you need to put in all of the right ingredients to make the story a compelling read, right? Now, even if there are minute details that you would want to feature into your story, maybe of the olden civilizations, then do go ahead and talk about all of these minute differences. Yes, you can give the descriptions of battles of the monarchy, and this is the case if your character is going to do a time travel to the past, right? So you can talk about the civilian lifestyle, how did the royal lifestyle happen. You can talk about monarchy there. Then there's going to be an entirely different technological setup in the past, right? So you can also talk about the differences that are seen in the technological setup of then and of now. Yes. And this is again something which will add a lot of visual appeal to your story, right? And your readers would be in a better position to visualize all of the things that you're talking in your narrative, right? Now, this is the second expert tip that we had here. And I'm also going to give you another expert tip for today, and that is that you can frame your ending on your own, and that is again left out to all you imaginative creative budding writers here. Yes. And it can be either happy or it can be sad, totally depends on you. But you can of course always prefer to keep it a good and healthy and a happy moral ending, right? So that's again something up to you, but you can try and quench the expectations of your readers and convey a positive message. Yes. So I leave it totally up to my creative budding writers here. Yes. And I can see smileys coming up here. So Varun tells me that he would definitely like to keep it positive. Great going there, Varun. And there's something to books that you read and which have a positive message, right? It kind of kindles us in a positive way. Yes, so that is one thing that you can maybe prefer while you're writing stories, and give a happy moral ending to your story, right? Now, after all of these expert tips, let me move ahead to another Google It segment, which is the word is quench. And quench would mean to satisfy, right? So when I say that you can quench the expectations of your readers, it would mean that you can satisfy their wants. Yeah, you can satisfy their expectations by giving them a happy moral ending, right? Now, after that Google It segment here, let me now move ahead to one of the most popular segments here, and one which you all love playing, right? So the name of the segment, no points for guessing. It is fill in the words, right? And you need to complete the words that I have here. There are blanks for some of the letters. And let me tell you that all of the words are from today's episode, and it's going to be really easy for you to guess all of these words, right? The first word that we have here, there it is. What is the word? That is quite easy. There's one character who is the protagonist of our story, and they are going to be a dash. Yes, so quickly, if you can give me answers here in the chat box. I'm going to wait for your answers in the chat box. Uh, that is correct again. Yes, some of the correct answers coming up there. Great. Lovely. So let me reveal it out. I know it's already there in the chat box. The answer is traveler. There we are. Okay. Now for the second one, and that's the last one that we have for today, right? Here we go. What is this word here? Think about this. It is quite easy. Something that different time zones will have. And there is a dash gap. Yes, I was just about to reveal out the answer. And yes, I have correct answers again there. Thanks a lot for all of these answers. Lovely. Again, okay, so one of the answers, some of the answers are for the previous question as well. And that is right. So let me reveal this out. It is generation. Great. So these were the two words that we had in today's fill in the word segment. And now let me go ahead to the next segment, which is at a glance, and give you a quick roundup of what we have learned in today's episode, right? On writing an anthropological science fiction story. Yes. So I'm going to leave you with a refresher of today's episode so that it's easy for you to write a story all by yourself. And Mahinder Sachdev just now giving me another response there. That is correct. Generation is the right answer. And let me now move ahead to the next segment. First things first, in our quick roundup is the essential, and what all did we see as the prerequisites to writing an anthropological sci-fi. They were the characters who are the backbone of our story. It's going to be a lone traveler who's going to experience different time zones and talk about the cultural differences that each of the time zones has. Yes, so this is going to be the essential. And now for the plot building pointers, we are going to talk about yes. So we are going to talk about the cost of the time travel, right? And also, how does the place look like? Yes. So that means that we are going to talk about the setting of that particular time zone. You can, of course, talk about all the minute differences that the lone traveler is going to observe, right? And then there is going to be a happy, positive ending to the story, right? So these were the plot building pointers. And then as I always tell you, do try and implement all of these learnings that you have had from today's episode, and try to pen down your imaginations and write a first anthropological science fiction story, right? It's definitely going to be a powerful read when you whisk up all the imagination that you have and write one of the sci-fi stories all by yourself. Yes, aimed with aided with all of these expert tips and essentials and the plot building pointers that I gave you in today's episode. I'm sure it's going to be an easy task for you, right? And it's always about the first step that you take, right? So that is one project work that I would strongly encourage each of my budding writers to be doing. Yes. And for tomorrow, let me tell you, it's going to be mystery genre, right? And in mystery, we will be seeing again another new subgenre. It's going to be a brand new, exciting episode for tomorrow. So do stay tuned in tomorrow as well at 6 p.m. India time. I am Sapna Mahadevan signing out for today. And if you have any questions for me, do let me know in the chat box here. I would definitely read out all of the comments and address your questions in tomorrow's episode, right? So, yes, with that, I would want all of you to take good care of yourselves and keep smiling and stay happy. Bye bye.